God is a speaking God. God speaks the world into existence. God is an eternally speaking God, a God who is word and breath, the Father who breathes the word by his Spirit. That's the God that we worship. And creation comes into being as a product of that speech and a product of that breath. You could say that creation exists as the obedient response to the Word of God. That's what creation is. God speaks and commands, let there be light, and the obedient response of what is not yet there is creation itself. Creation exists as the obedient response to the Word of God. And specifically, human beings exist to be responsive to the Word of God. God created human beings in his image according to his likeness. And one of the central things that means is that we're created to be in dialogue with God. We're created to hear God's word, to obey it consciously and deliberately, not just instinctually as other creatures might, but we're to hear it, we're to imbibe it, we're to reshape it, we're to speak it back to him glorified. We're created to be dialogue partners with God. And one of the things that sin centrally dislocates and disturbs is that dialogue between God and human beings. You can look at Genesis 3. There's a kind of inverted liturgy going on in Genesis 3. Adam eats from the tree. Eve and Adam eat from the tree illegitimately, sinfully. And because of that, God's encounter with them, God's dialogue with them is all backwards. God appears, and when God appears, he calls them into his presence, but they're hiding from his presence. Instead of speaking a word of grace, he asks, who told you that to eat from this tree? Who told you that you were naked? He confronts them with a word of judgment. Instead of having a dialogue of communion, there's a dialogue of judgment. But the liturgy is the place where that dialogue, that original dialogue, is restored. The God who created the world through word restores the world through word. The God who created the world through the breath of the Spirit restores the world through the breath of the Spirit. And the main place where that restoration happens, the main place where man is restored to proper dialogue with God, is in the liturgy. And that not only tells us what the liturgy is like the Song of Songs. It's a love dialogue between God the husband and his bride. But it also tells us something about the shape that the liturgy should have. The liturgy is designed to be dialogical. The minister speaks on behalf of God. The minister speaks in the place of Jesus, and the people respond. The minister speaks, and the people believe. The minister speaks, and the people rejoice. That dialogue is the structure of worship. It's the structure of all historic liturgies. It's the structure of the Psalms. It's the structure that we see in many of the liturgical patterns of the Old Testament. Dialogue is the structure of worship. And it's not just that this is an isolated event of worship. The liturgy is an isolated event where God speaks to man and we respond. That isolated event of dialogue is really restoring humanity to its proper relationship with God. What happens in the liturgy is restoring man as man and is restoring human life to its proper dialogical structure.